Welcome to San Antonio, Texas, home to 5 legendary Spanish missions, each with a unique history, stunning architecture, and tales of survival. These missions were built in the 1700s to convert, educate, and protect indigenous people. But today, they stand as time capsules of history. In this video, we'll walk through each mission leading up to the grand finale, the Alamo, the site of one of the most famous battles in American history. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go too well for the Texans.
We are on the way.
Nicknamed the Queen of the Missions, Mission San Jose is the largest of the 5 built in 1720. It had a full-on community inside, complete with housing, workshops, and even a grain mill. The church's rose window was one of the most famous pieces of Spanish colonial architecture in the US today. Fun fact, no one actually knows who built it. So if you want a centuries-old mystery, here's one for you. Also back in the day, this place had fortified walls and cannons, making it the mission impossible of the 18th century. So behind me are the living quarters of the native peoples of this area as they were slowly learning all of the scriptures and things that were required to become Spanish citizens. So there'd be up to 20 people in these little tiny rooms. And all of the cooking and everything was done communally in these ovens that are situated outside all of the buildings. Now, an interesting thing, or somewhat horrific thing, is of course that a huge amount of the native people here succumbed to European diseases such as smallpox, and the birth rate was unable to keep up with the death rate at the time. So of course, while the native population were learning how to become wonderful citizens of Spain, they were used as a labour force to grow food, animal husbandry, build buildings, and do all of that mucky manual work that the Spanish colonists probably thought were a little bit below them. Now, of course, the death rate was such that the Spanish needed to continue to replace the native people here, so they'd send out raiding parties on horses to go and round up the natives that were still living out on the land and bring them in to be converted into Catholicism and learn how to be wonderful Spanish citizens and expose them to all the diseases. And again, as always, the churches are still in use today. Of course, the church is still active, so there's a church service being conducted at the moment. This window behind me was used by the Catholic priests to preach to the neophytes, which were the Native Americans who were waiting to convert to Catholicism. They would be in the courtyard here, and the priests would be in the church, but the neophytes weren't allowed into the church until they had converted. And it was a long process to be able to do that because they had to learn all of the different things that are required. Mission San Juan was San Antonio's grocery store before grocery stores were a thing. They grew enough food here to support not just the mission, but the whole region. It's smaller and more peaceful than the others, but back in the day it was a booming trade hub. The mission exported produce, cloth, and even leather goods, all thanks to the hard-working indigenous people and Spanish priests. Now it's a great place to take a quiet walk. Just watch out for the occasional armadillo. Alright, our second stop is Mission San Juan. Have a look at the architecture. It's very similar to the Alamo, but of course the Alamo being of national significance is operated by the federal government, and the 4 other missions that we are visiting today are operated by the Texas state government. Okay, so this mission behind me was originally meant as a grain storage and was used as a church temporarily until the new church was going to be built, which would have been much larger. Unfortunately, the new church was never built, and this remained as the church in the area. So hopefully we can get inside. It all looks like it's shut up at the moment, but we'll give it a try. So this building here is what remains of the unfinished church. Now there is a cycle trail that you can do, starting off down the bottom with the Espada, then up to the San Juan, and from the San Juan to the San Jose, and then to Mission Concepción, and right up at the very top is the Alamo. And of course the places have got these e-bike rental stations, so yeah, you can hop on a bike and do the bike trail. Mission Espada, the underdog of the bunch, founded in 1690, yes, even older than the others. It's got charm, history, and some of the oldest Spanish structures in Texas. One of its coolest features, the Espada Aqueduct, a water system built in the 1700s that still functions today. I can't even get my lawn sprinklers to function today. It may be the smallest of the 5, but it played a big role in sustaining the Spanish settlements. Okay, Janie, so where are we at? What is
Mission Espada.
Mission Espada. Okay, so this is one of 4 missions that we're hoping to visit today, is that right?
We'll see how good it is.
We'll see how it goes. All right, let's go have a look. So the mission was built by the Spanish, obviously, to protect their lands from any incursions from like the Indians and things like that. These are the ruins of the fort which was attached to the mission. Now, of course, it changed hands from the Spanish during the Spanish-Mexican War, and then it became Mexican, and then of course it changed hands again to become part of Texas. So the foundations of most of the buildings have been restored so that people can get a visual idea of the size of the thing. But every now and again you'll run across things like this where you've got this bit of timber above a door. If it's got a bit of timber like this above the door, then it's been added or restored at a later date to when it was originally constructed, because they didn't use timber in the original constructions. So that's a giveaway that something else has happened here. They've either had something cave in or they've added a door in here. So yeah, interesting. So this was rebuilt as a school in 1932. So of course the original doorways and windows and things like that were constructed with the stone, and this is all like brick, so I presume that's been replaced, but this is how the original ones were. There's no timber in here holding anything up. And I just found this, which proves that I'm not talking through a hole in my head, so there we go. So the facade of the church is the only original piece that's still standing, and interestingly, at the base here is the foundations of an extension that they were going to do to the church, which never actually happened. Mission Conception is the oldest unrestored stone church in America. Built in 1755, it still looks almost like it did back then, probably because San Antonio skipped hurricane season for the last 300 years. This place saw some action too. In 1835, Texan forces led by James Fannin and Jim Bowie fought off the Mexican army right here, setting the stage for what was coming at the Alamo. Also, rumour has it the place is haunted, but hey, what's a 300-year-old church if it isn't? Alright, so this is our fourth one today. This is the Mission Concepción. And of course, there are actually 5, and the last one is the Alamo. And now the one you've been waiting for, the most iconic mission in San Antonio, the Alamo. More than just a historic landmark, it's the site of one of the most famous last stands in history. The Alamo started as Mission San Antonio de Valerio in 1718, but by the 1800s it became a military fortress. Texas settlers, or Texians, were pushing for independence from Mexico, and General Santa Anna was not happy about it. So when Texanians took over the Alamo in late 1835, Santa Anna marched in with thousands of troops. Let's say negotiations were not going to go well. Alright, so to kick off the Battle of the Alamo, the Spanish commander sent an ultimatum to the persons in the Alamo, which is like Davy Crockett and Bowie, saying that if they surrendered they would be given quarter. So they replied with, give us an hour and we'll let you know what our decision is. So their decision was to fire a cannon like this at the church, which is over behind us, into where the Spanish were camped. Now the Spanish commander was a little bit upset with this, so he raised a red flag over the top of the church which said that they would give no quarter to any of the soldiers defending the Alamo, and that's what happened. They killed everyone to the last man. Alright, so this is the San Antonio Cathedral. There's some interesting people that are interned inside, so we'll have a quick look at that. So interned here is Davy Crockett, and the guy that made the Bowie knives, and Travis. Texan heroes. And of course it's a church which is still functional, and there is a wedding going on inside. For 13 days, 200 Texian defenders led by William B. Travis, James Bowie and Davy Crockett held off thousands of Mexican soldiers. Travis even wrote a letter saying, "Victory or death." Unfortunately, it was the second one. On March 6, 1836, Santa Anna's forces stormed the mission. The defenders fought fiercely, but were ultimately overwhelmed. So this area down here is called like the Low Fort or something like that. That is where Bowie was killed. He was actually quite ill at the time, so I don't know whether he managed to defend himself or not, or whether he was just shot in his bed. So, but yeah, I mean, something to look up perhaps. All right, so of course this is the iconic mission, which is part of the Alamo complex. This is the original well of the Alamo. Alright, so the story of the Alamo is really quite complex. So after the first cannon was fired into the Spanish or the Mexican troops, the battle continued for probably about 10 days. On the 10th day or thereabouts, the Spanish overwhelmed the walls. The defenders retreated into the courtyard that I'm in now. As the fighting continued, they retreated into the church or the mission, and that was where they all finally met their demise. Now there is some differing things that explain what happened. Some say that the likes of Davy Crockett were killed fighting ferociously to the bitter end, and some that he was captured and taken out and executed. But any of the defenders that were captured were executed. Now the Texians didn't take the Alamo fall lightly. Sam Houston led a Texian army east, drawing Santa Anna into a trap. On April 21, 1836, at the Battle of San Jacinto, Houston's troops attacked during the Mexican army's nap time. Literally. In 18 minutes they won the battle and Texas became independent. Now after they had finished with the Alamo, the Mexican army started heading northeast towards what's now known as Houston. And as they were travelling, one of the captured women was leaving little notes behind for the spies to take to General Houston. Now he found out that it was every day the Mexican army would have a siesta after lunch, and the woman would make sure that the general of the Mexican army was preoccupied, and that attacking the army just after lunch would be the way to do it. So General Houston led his men, attacked the Mexican army just after lunch during their siesta, and routed the Mexican army. They captured the general of, or the president of Mexico at the time, and forced him to sign over Texas to the Texans. So therefore Texas became a republic. So it was its own country, and it joined the rest of the United States at a later date, and thus the Texan flag and the United States flag are of equal significance in Texas. After the battle, the Alamo became a symbol of Texan resilience. Over the years, it was used as a military outpost, a warehouse, and even, get this, a grocery store. Now it's one of the most visited historical sites in the US, standing as a tribute to those who fought for Texas independence. Of course, we can't visit the Alamo without going into the mission, so that's where we're heading now. This is the little hospital room. Inside the mission at the Alamo is very busy. And all these little rooms on each side. The defenders of the Alamo, they actually built a ramp at the back of the church here for the mission, and they positioned 2 cannons up the back there, and those cannons were pointed at the front door. The Alamo isn't just a mission, it's a symbol of bravery, sacrifice, and the fight for freedom. So when you think of Texas history, remember what Sam Houston said. Remember the Alamo. Alright, so behind me is a memorial to the people that gave their lives at the Alamo, because their bodies were burnt, so yeah, they don't have individual graves. So, Janie, there is a iconic battle cry. That,
Remember
remember the Elmo.
albino.
The albino.
Alamo.
Remember the Alamo, and that was from which army?
I don't know.
Big city's named after him. Not Dallas.
Houston.
Houston. So Houston's army had the battle cry, remember the Alamo. Mm-hmm. And I hope you do. And I hope you come down there and I hope you visit. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Oh, you're still here. You might like one of these videos next.